Hey everyone, this is Tom Box, and today we're taking a peek at Legacy of Destruction. If you like Tri-Brigade's Tri-Beast playstyle and like to link climb into victory, then today we are introducing to you a deck that's very similar with Ragnaraika. Ragnaraika. You know what? I actually really do like this name. But anyways, out of the forest and into the swamp, the three supported typing in this particular strategy are going to be plants, going to be insects, and also reptiles. In this video, I'm going to refer to these particular three typings as the supported types. Now, there are many archetypes that complement this strategy, such as Bee Troopers, Ogdoadics, Traptrix, Raika, Air Mages. They all fall within the supported typing family. Which strategy will you choose? Well, we'll find out. Most people are still leaning towards Ogdoadics, but maybe you have something special in mind for this particular deck. And let's go over every single card first, and maybe you can decide then. The first card being introduced is none other than Ragnaraika, the Evil Seed. This card is a secret rare, and it is one of the most important starters in the entire deck. Now, if this card is in your hand, quite easily can be special summoned by sending one of these supported types into the graveyard from your hand, and then you can special summon out this monster from your hand quite easily. There are many other methods that you can definitely try, such as like Serpentine Princess being put back into the deck. But aside from that, upon normal or special summoning of this card, you get to add 2 cards from either your banish or your deck into your hand that are Ragnaraika cards, and then you have to banish one of them out of your hand. But don't worry, likely you're going to be adding the continuous spell, Ragnaraika Bloom, and then you get to special summon back the banished card anyway. I'm just saying there's a little bit of synergy there so that you're not really losing out on any of the cards that you're adding. So this is one of the most important cards that can lead into a lot of the other plays. Let's look at the other 2 main deck monsters. Next, we have Ragnaraika Samurai Beetle. Kind of interesting how this is a light monster of all things. However, this is also one of your extenders for the deck. You can take one of your banished supported type monsters and put it to the bottom of the deck and special summon this card from your hand. Now, if you do use this monster as a link material for a Ragnaraika monster, you get to special summon another Ragnaraika monster from the graveyard, except for the Samurai Beetle. But this is how this deck works. You can just use it to keep on climbing up that link rating ladder. Then we have Ragnaraika Armored Lizard. Now, unlike the insect of the Samurai Beetle where you put back a banished monster to the bottom of the deck, this one you banish one from the graveyard. So if you add both, quite easily you can use Armored Lizard to banish the first piece and then use Samurai Beetle to put the other piece back to the bottom of the deck to summon them both out. So you get 2 monsters now. And this one has a neat effect here where it's a little bit more specific, where you get to discard one of your insect, plants, or your reptile. This is one of the supported types. And then you get to target a face-up monster opponent controls, and you get to return that to the hand. I'm guessing if you're trying to build a very big link summon, you probably want to ensure safety in the landing, so this is one way to force your opponents to trade some cards for some effects, otherwise they have to face removal. So this is what the lizard is for, so decent synergy between the 2 other monsters aside from the seed. And just like that, we're on to Link monsters. There's 4 Link monsters to cover, and all of them share one very similar effect where they can special summon themselves out of the graveyard. So rather than repeating it, I'm just going to give you the effect right here. Now, there's a slight difference on one of these monsters, but if these Link monsters are in the graveyard, you can target an insect, plant, or reptile that you control. You can bottom deck that monster, and if you do, special summon the card. So they can quite easily special summon themselves out of the graveyard and help you build up that Link rating once again. However, now most of these monsters, except for Skeletal Soldier, say that, hey, for the rest of the turn, you can't special summon insects, plants, and reptiles. However, Skeletal Soldier require you that you can't have special summon during the entire turn, so his restriction is a little bit tighter compared to the Link's 3s, 4s, and 5s. Okay, but starting with Skeletal Soldier, what's so good about the Skeletal Soldier that makes it a little bit more restrictive? Well, this is essentially the Sprite Elf of the deck, where you can target a Ragnaraika monster in your graveyard and special summon it in defense position. Now, it's not a quick effect, it is an ignition effect, and this effect can only be used once per turn, but since it's already summoning back a monster right away, this monster automatically gives you a very, very easy climb into your Link 3. Now, it has to summon defense position, which means the Link monsters are out of question. Next, we have Ragnaraika Mantis Monk. This is the Link 3 Wind Insect, and most likely across the board, the recipe is going to require 2+ monsters, but you just have to include one of the supported types. And you can banish 2 of the supported types of insect, plants, or reptiles from your graveyard to add a Ragnaraika trap card into your hand from your deck. Likely you're going to be adding a Hunting Dance to give you a little bit more control against your opponent and being able to destroy multiple monsters on your opponent's side of the field. It's kind of like getting yourself something almost like an Icarus attack, I would say, but this is what this monster is for, and being a Link 3 is quite easy to climb back up to your Link 4, especially if you can summon it out of your graveyard later on. Next, onto one of the two boss monsters of this deck, we have Ragnaraika Chain Coils. This is the Fire Reptile, Link 4 with 2900 attack points, very large monster, and there's one that gets even bigger, but for this one, it has a restrictive effect to lock people out of using monster effects from the hand. How does it work? Well, this is not an ignition effect, it is a trigger effect that requires your opponent to activate a monster effect first, and after they do that, you can activate this effect. Neither player can activate monster effects from the hand anymore. So that takes away most of the 0 attack, 1800 defense Ghost Girl monsters. Takes away monsters like Snake Eyes Poplar, Bestial monsters, and it can also help you turn off against big monsters like the Flying Rock of Nibiru the Primal Being. So this card is very, very useful, just in general. And finally, for the last Link monster, we have the ultra rare of Ragnaraika Stag Sovereign. This is a Link 5. Yes, we are climbing all the way to Link 5 this time around, and this one does require you to only use insect, plants, and reptile monsters, whereas the other ones, it requires 2 monsters only, including some of the families. So there's slight differences across the board. So this particular monster allows you to destroy 2 monsters non-targeting. Essentially, it's that, where if a monster is special summoned from your opponent's deck or their extra deck, you can destroy 2 monsters on the field. It's that simple. You can only use this effect once per turn, but nonetheless, it does provide you with more destruction against your opponent. So if you're a fan of just constantly clearing out your opponent's board, then this is probably the deck for you too. Down to the last 2 cards, we have Ragnaraika Bloom, and we also have the Trap card. So first of all, the spell card Ragnaraika Bloom is going to be the continuous spell card, and it is a secret rare. One of the most important cards, one of your key starters, and for all your subsequent turn, it's going to be one of your most important follow-ups as well. So how does it work? Well, it's a secret rare, so what makes it so secret rare worthy? Obviously, it's going to be because all of the insects, plants, and reptiles, they gain 300 attack and defense. That's right. But on top of that, there's more. All of the other typings, they lose 300 attack and defense, essentially giving you a 600 attack and defense difference. That alone is already secret rare worthy back in 2002 maybe, but what makes it really good is that during the main phase you get to add 1 Ragnaraika monster from your deck to your hand, and then you can discard a card. I think the discarding card is pretty fair because you can use that discarded card to pay for costs for additional cards such as the Armored Lizard. Now, on top of that, this card functions much like a Cash Tier Birth because you can special summon one of your Ragnaraika monsters from your hand, graveyard, or banishment in defense position. And this is something you can do turn after turn, so this is the thing that lets you keep on going. Now, Link monsters are out of question, but that shouldn't be the issue because they already can summon themselves out of the graveyard, and they don't get banished after the fact. They don't leave the graveyard. You put them back in the graveyard, they just go right back in there. So you have ways to get your Links, and you have ways to get your regular monsters from the main deck back onto the field, and that's what makes this card really, really impressive. We already know how good Cashier Birth was, so this card is kind of in the same field, but also searches you additional cards. Like, this is the wonder card of the deck. And finally, the card that you search with Mantis Monk, we have the Hunting Dance. Ragnaraika Hunting Dance, target cards your opponent controls up to the number of different types among Link monsters you control, such as insects, plants, and reptiles, and destroy them. So in other words, you can target up to 3 cards and destroy them. Now, if a face-up insect, plant, or monster effect is destroyed by battle or card effect while this card is in the graveyard, except the turn that was sent there, you can banish this card, target 1 monster your opponent controls, and destroys it. So in other words, aside from destroying stuff on the field, when it's on the field, in the graveyard, it will continue to destroy cards against your opponent, which is why this card is really good. And since it can be activated during damage check because it also counts for the monsters being destroyed by battle, this is a card that provides you with graveyard follow-up so that your opponent has to pay attention to your graveyard just in case. Well, they already should be because you have a lot of stuff that can be summoned from the graveyard, but this will provide you with additional disruption against your opponent from the graveyard. That's all I want to mention within the archetype itself. However, there's one card that definitely deserves a mention. It's going to be Serpentine Princess. It's such an old card. However, you should be trying to save a normal summon for this card just so that you can bottom deck back the Serpentine Princess so it can activate and generate another free summon. So you should be trying to save your normal summon for this particular card that is searchable via King of the Feral Imps, which is also a reptile, and that's also within the supported typing family. And that's just one key thing I wanted to point out before I kind of close out this video. If you guys enjoyed this video, enjoyed the rarity, reveal, and the strategy behind these cards, kind of learning all these cards with me, hit that thumbs up button, hit subscribe, ding that notification bell, and I wish you all best of luck with the other strategies coming up, and I'll see you all in the next one.